Hi, I'm attorney Vincent Davis, and I've been fighting CPS for over 35 years. Through my years of experience, I've gained invaluable insights that I'm ready to share with you. If you're a parent or a caregiver or a relative, we need to talk. I'm offering a new opportunity for you to speak with me on a one-on-one basis. Ask me any questions, and I'll provide you with the insight you need to take steps in your CPS case. Members get everything they need to gain confidence and the knowledge that they need to support necessary to truly fight back. And as a special thank you for attending, I have a special offer just for you. Don't miss out, join us, and let's take that next step together. I'll see you at the question and answer event.
Good evening. I'm Bob Pace, and welcome to my live podcast, Fight CPS and Stop Taking Our Children. You just heard from my attorney, Vincent W. Davis, who put together this podcast. He is a very good man. He's a professional attorney that practices in the areas of dependency law. That's family juvenile dependency law, which is the area that you probably have your case in. And he is also offering every week a Zoom meeting on how to fight your CPS case and insights coming directly from an attorney of 35 years. Now, I'm not an attorney, but I've been fighting CPS for 15 years. Vincent Davis has been my attorney, and he's the one that got my boys back when they were stolen. I left, but suddenly I left. Okay. There are several ways you can participate in this podcast. The first way is to just be in this room and listen and take notes. Now, I welcome you. We have some that just came in from the Secret How to Fight CPS. I welcome you in there. I welcome all you other people too. And as you come in, I would like this to be something that you could be helpful with your case, what you like me to do with your case. It's a hard thing you're going through. It's been a hard thing for me too. And I want you to feel comfortable and ease. And there are 4 ways that you're right now can interact with this podcast. The first way, of course, is being in this live podcast. You can do emojis like smiley faces, thumbs up. You can show love. You can also show stars if you appreciate the show. Furthermore, please check below if you want to follow me. And if you want to be notified when I'm on, please check that below. Now, a second way of interacting with this podcast is that you may want to say something. And if you want to make a comment or a question, it's got to be about CPS, the Child Protection System. Now, how I define CPS, it's an arm of the social services that protects our children from neglect and abuse. It furthermore helps out family in need of food and shelter and clothing, also education for the children, and also housing or shelter, as I said earlier. And it's also how to get a job or how they get it. They'll help you with getting a job. And so those are things they should be helping you with. They're supposed to be helping a family in need. Furthermore, if they take apart and break apart your family, which most recently it seems that all they do, is that you can get your family back together, called family reunification. So it's 3 parts of the child protection system. First part is that they are monitoring the children by people calling in, either lay people or professionals. Professionals are trained and take classes on how to recognize neglect or abuse. They're like firemen and policemen and doctors and nurses and caregivers and teachers and counselors and principals. Those kinds of individuals learn all about neglect and abuse. And by law, they're required to call in any suspect of neglect or abuse. And most of the time, they're pretty much on the spot about it. But the other persons are the lay people. These are people like your neighbors, your friends, your relatives, your in-laws. It could be also your husband or wife if you're going through a messy divorce. Those lay people seem to abuse the system a lot. And I would say pretty close to 60% of the people or 40% of the people or lay people are abusing the system. And where the professionals are 90%. But the problem is that once an allegation goes, they're required by law to investigate within 24 hours. And lately, they've been going in and investigating by searching your home illegally, by taking your children illegally, by entering your home illegally, and by talking to you illegally. And you probably say, what do you mean illegally? Well, you need to know your civil and constitutional rights. You need to know your civil and constitutional rights. And thank you for the thumbs up there. Now, furthermore, Natalie, good, you're here. Hi, Natalie. Why the neighbors call? Because they don't have the same attention from DCS. You need to clarify that, Natalie. I need to know what you mean by that. Why the neighbors call? What I meant by the type of persons that call in, it could be your neighbor. If, for instance, your neighbor doesn't like your trees or bushes growing on their yard, so they're going to make up a false story, call CPS, and have you go ring around when you don't have any children. They say you're neglecting your children. They come out, they find the person doesn't have any children. That's what I mean. Lay people tendency to make false fronts and false allegations. I myself was put on the spot for 5 years where my in-laws, my wife's mother, father, 3 sisters, and her brother called in once a week and complained that we weren't taking care of our children. We weren't feeding our children. We weren't doing, housing or taking them to school. So that's what I mean by lay people. They use it. Yes, they are ignorant neighbors. I know that. They think CPS will help you with the government help assist. Yes, that's what I mean by lay people. That's what I'm talking about. But then again, the professional is a little bit geared on that. But the problem being is that you're guilty. You see, this is the only criminal law that you're guilty before you're innocent. Every other thing, you're innocent before you're guilty. They have to prove you're guilty. But in family law and in juvenile law and dependency law, they don't. They just CPS automatically, you're guilty. And that's a really hard battle you have to fight. And again, I'm so happy that you came in the room, Natalie, and I'm so happy that for all the emojis I'm getting in the room. Now, that we're going back to making what we were talking about comments, okay? And I said that they had to be pertaining to CPS. All I ask you in return when you make text in a comment is you show your first name. You show your first name, and then you show your city or county. One or the other is fine. If you don't want to do the city and want to do the county, that's fine too. Then you want to list your state. And now, if you're also from another country outside the U.S., please listen your city and your country. If you have many provinces or states in other parts of the world, you can list that also. Yes, I do have people from around the world that listen to this podcast that do comment. I have over 14 countries that have called in with problems that they have. So it's a small world out there, but the the Children Protection System is really corrupt. It's all about money. It's $1 trillion business in the U.S. And all they want to do is get money. So they pay out bonuses and they pay out incentives to the social workers. They don't care about you. They're not transparent. They will lie. They'll lead you up and drop you off. And they are so bad, they really demoralize as parents. So I'm here to help you. So, tell me your city or country or province or state. And in the United States, it's your city or county and state, and with your first name. Be very complete with your CPS case. Try to tell me how your family's made up, the ages and sexes of your children, what were the allegations in more detail, the neglect or abuse. And then, how were they taken? Did you give them up? Did they forcibly take them from you? How were your children taken? And lastly, where are you at on your case? Are you in dependency court? Are you at the beginning? You're at the end? Tell me that also. Now, keep in mind these countries. I have had Bangladesh, New Delhi, India, a country in the Middle East. It was in Arabic, so I couldn't make out the country. The continent of Africa, I've had Liberia in the northwest along the coast comment in. I've had Rwanda comment in, and I had Mozambique opposite the Madagascar. And then I've had the west province of South Africa. Going up to Europe, I've had England, Scotland, Wales, part of the United Kingdom. And then I've had Denmark and Sweden. Then we go over the pond to North America, and we have Canada and all its provinces. I've talked to every state in the U.S., all 50 states, including Washington, D.C. I've either talked to them or texted them. I've also talked to the Indian tribes, the Native American Indians in the U.S. I've talked to the Cherokee and the Lakota Sioux at the Rosebud Reservation, the Cherokee in Oklahoma. I've also talked to the First Nation Indian people of Canada, and that was in British Columbia. And so, I've talked to them. I've also talked to social workers. I've yet to talk to a policeman who handles CPS cases. I love to hear from a policeman about how you handle CPS cases. So we go south of the border. I have Mexico, Mexico City, and then I have South America, a little country called Grenada, east of Venezuela, north of Brazil, on the east coast of South America. Then across Pacific, I have the land down under Australia. I had the east coast, which is the Gold Coast, Sydney area, and then I've had Melbourne in the state of Victoria, Melbourne, and that's at the south end of Australia. And that's who I've heard so far. So again, this room is open to anybody that has a problem with the child protection system. I'm here to help you all. I have 5 rules, and I have many experiences over the 15 years that I can share with you. Now, the third way to react with this podcast is to be a guest, and I'd love for you to schedule your time to be on my podcast. I have a show producer. She's under the weather tonight, so she's not working tonight, but she's behind the scene and helps me with the room. She also will help you be a guest on the podcast. Her email to write her is grace@vincentwdavis.com. That's who you'd contact to be a guest on my podcast. That's who you would contact. And so I'm telling you that if you would like to be a guest, I'd love to have you. I have room for 9 more windows. I have a total of 10 windows. And I can share the room with you, and we can talk and help each other, and the comments can be expressed and so forth. All you have to do is tell Grace what day and time. I'm on 7 days a week, Monday through Sunday. I come on at 10 o'clock in the morning Pacific Standard Time for 1 hour, and at night at 7 p.m. Pacific Time for 1 hour. So I'm on twice a day. And the only exceptions to this is every Friday, I have high school football. It's Friday Night Lights. And I go to the football game at 7 o'clock. And so I move my show up 2 hours early to 4 o'clock. So my podcast is 4 to 5 on those nights. Also on Sunday, I go to church So when we show up 2 hours, I come on at 8 o'clock, 8 to 9 on Sunday. Those are the only exceptions. I'll let you know if there's other changes. So get your request off to me or to Grace at vincentwdavis.com. And she'll give you the link, which will get you on the podcast. I use StreamYard as my application. I'm podcasting on YouTube. And so I like to have you all, to be my guest. She will help you. She'll give you a link. Don't lose it, because if you get knocked off, use the link again. It's good for that show. So that's how you get back on again. Also, she'll tell you things like no eating or smoking on the show. And we also want to not use the names of children or social workers or judges on the show. And she'll talk to you other things about lighting and sound and everything. It's very important that we can hear you and adjust you. Try to use your computer. Phones are okay. Now, the fourth way that you can interact with my podcast is my phone. You can call me at 626-698-0990. That's my office number. It's a direct line to my phone. It will ring. I will talk to you during the show. You'll be put on speakerphone. You don't have to worry about your picture won't be shown. And you can talk about your case that way. So there's 4 ways I've shown you. One is to be in this room like you are. And I have about 10 people in the room, and that's great. And then also you can make comments. You can type me comments, what you want, and I'll answer them or discuss them. And then you could be a guest. And I'd love to have you as a guest. And lastly, is my phone number. And I use Vonage, by the way, internet application on my phone. So that's 626-698-0990. So it's up and running. So I'm going to go back to Natalie, who's making the first one here. Natalie is from West Hollywood. She has 2 children. One of her children is living with her brother, who is his uncle, but they're estranged right now, so she can't communicate with her son. Now, she has a daughter that's been adopted, and she has no touch with her daughter. She really feels really hurt by what happened to her. This is the problem. CPS is notorious to adopt kids out. And the reason why I'd like to talk a moment about foster care, unless someone would like to talk about something else. Type it in, call me. Anybody can call me there. But I would like to tell you about foster care. Foster care is where children go live with families. Supposedly the mother and father are caring mothers and fathers, and they care about the children, and it's a temporary thing. But a lot of times they want to adopt your child because they're so good looking or so well behaved. And it's sad because they do abuse children. The reason being is foster care is a short-term thing. They come through with very little training if you want to become a foster parent, and then children are thrown at them right away. You see, normally adoption takes years, and you have to be vetted before you set with a child. They want to make sure it's the right placement for the child. But in foster care, the child protection system throws the kids at them right away. Whether they're abused or not, they're not concerned. They just want to make their money. I know that sounds mean of the child protection system, but I've yet only heard from 3 that were positive. I love some more of the child protection system people to speak up, because it is very, very, very corrupt. Now, Natalie says her neighbor called on her. He had mental health problems. He thought CPS would help us. CPS would help us. Now, in Natalie's neck of the woods, they call their CPS DCS. In California, it's CPS, Child Protection Services. But the Department of Children's Services, I guess, is in the West Hollywood area or the LA area. But anyway, when she means DCS, I mean CPS. Every county will have different acronyms. I know in Arizona, it's DCS, Department of Children's Services. It's Department of Children's Services. Yeah, that's what they call in Arizona. In Georgia, or actually, I should say Kentucky, it's called the Cabinet. And I have a person here tonight. I don't see her, Faye. So I'm going to ask Faye to join us. She's from Richmond, Kentucky, but she went through a lot of that Hurricane Helene and is fighting that. So that is hard for her. Let me see if I can get a hold of that. I'm also getting a hold of Danielle from Georgia. She's trying to get custodian of her son. So I'm glad we have these people back. We have all the links fixed. And I want to thank Grace again for fixing the links. So now we have lots of people in the room. All we need to do is do the questions or talking. We have Natalie talking, but she's the only one so far. What would you like to do, Natalie, tonight? There's lots of ways I can go. I can talk about the child protection system and what social workers are like. I can talk about how my 5 rules, getting an attorney, doing the paperwork, not letting them in your home, how to say no to social workers, medical trafficking. I also can talk about how to research CPS and how to spend time and getting the answers. Also, my rule number 5 is your important documents, your children's documents, and everything else. So I want to help you, but I want to make this room how you want it to be, how you want it to be. So you direct me what you want it to be, and I will do my best to interact with you. It's not a panic mode. And so the court, I can explain how CPS traffic kids to outside medical. You want to talk about medical trafficking, Natalie? Natalia? I keep calling you Natalie. It's Natalia. Natalia. I ruin your name all the time. Okay. She wants to talk about one of my rules. And my rule number 3, not only does it talk about how to enter a home, how to answer the door, how to say no to social workers, and how not to take your children, what they can do. I also talk about in my rule number 3, trafficking. Now, medical trafficking is when you take your child into urgent care, or maybe you take it into the hospital emergency area, the triage area, because it's emergency. A child with a high temp late at night, a child bleeding excessively, anything that's emergency. What's happening a lot lately in the hospitals are the child protection social workers are hanging out. They're listening. They are trying to capture your child. What are they doing? They're trying to find something they could use against you. For instance, if you're talking to a doctor and you said you did something, they may interpret it that you were neglecting your children or abuse, and they want to take your child right away. Well, you tell them no. They have to have a court order to take your child. It's got to be a warrant. And it's got to be signed by a judge in court on regular court days, not on holidays, not on weekends. There's no court on holidays or weekends. And that piece of paper's got to be a real piece of paper. It can't be a PDF file or you open their computer and they show you it on the screen. And it can't be a Xerox copy. It's got to be a wet signature. What happens is the judge will sign it, and then the court clerk will take a hand stamp and emboss it and raise the signature up so you can't duplicate it. Furthermore, it's got to say everything on the warrant. It's got to say who is them investigating, if it's the husband, wife, or partners, or is it lovers, or however your family arrangement is. It's got to be on there. Your children's names will be on there. The allegations will be on there, and then the address of where this place is, and then the date and time they can come and take your child or talk to you or come into your home. Now, that warrant is the same thing that will work in the hospital. They got to have the warrant that says they can take your child from the hospital. What you do very nicely, tell them is, hi there, I need to speak to my attorney. He has to be present. It's your constitutional right to have an attorney present at all times. You got to have that, your constitutional right. So, okay, Natalie, you can call me. I'd be more than happy to have you talk on my podcast. So on the you have to be careful. Another part too is, let's say you're going to have a baby in the hospital. There's medical trafficking there. They want to take your child. As soon as the baby comes out of the uterus, they want to march in with the police and take your child. There's some crude stories I've heard. Again, they have to have a warrant. Again, you can tell them no. You want to have your attorney present. Okay, we have a caller. Good evening, Natya.
Hello.
Let me turn you up.
Hi, Bob.
Yeah, I'm glad you called me tonight. Everybody's listening. This is Natya from West Hollywood, California. And you want to tell me about your case? Because sometimes they don't cover it very well. Go ahead and tell me about your case.
Basically, I have 3 children. I have 2 girls and 1 boy. And so my daughters, they were taken from me without a warrant from the police because one of the neighbors was making up stories about us and so forth. And he even wrote a threatening letter. And I had another neighbor that had a mental illness, and he kept calling DCFS on us for some crazy reason. He even said that I was feeding them dog food, which is not true.
Right.
And then this fellow next door, I still have him here. He wrote a threatening letter. He actually typed it. So he said he would like me to have my kids taken and all this and so forth. So one day, my brother and I, we didn't get along on something, and basically they called the police, and I opened the door because they kept banging, and they took my kids, and they handcuffed me, and they took me to the county mental hospital, and I spent 5 years trying to get my kids. And the judge, she separated my kids, all of them. So my 2 daughters are placed with illegal immigrants, because that's what Kamala Harris wanted, right? She actually encouraged more foster illegal immigration. I found actually something, a long time ago when I was going to UCLA, not too long ago, a couple of years back, when I was finishing my degree, that she encouraged illegal immigrants to adopt children. And my lawyer, Mike, at the time, kept asking for proof. Are they qualified to adopt? Do they have any papers? My uncle, he had to submit his naturalization papers, his tax forms, his property tax, his doctor's license, his pharmacology license, all that. But these people didn't have to do that. And so my uncle became a foster parent too, and then so the judge separated all my kids. So my 2 daughters are placed with these people that are not very nice, and my son is living with my uncle, and my uncle lives in Washington State, and it takes me 2 days to go on the train. And in my condition, I don't know if I can do that, especially there's nobody to take care of my pets. And it's very hard financially on me to go there because I probably wouldn't have anywhere to stay. But he's just upset about what happened because something happened between my mom and my other uncle because he did owe money. And so he refuses to talk to my brother and me.
Let me help you a little bit here, Natalie. First of all, I don't know how it started. You said a layperson reported to CPS. Let me finish, okay?
Right.
A layperson reported you to CPS on some allegation that he trumped up because they didn't like you or whatever the case would be, which is true. They'll come out, but then did they come right away with the police when they're investigating you?
No, they didn't come right away. What happened is I was living in the other house, and at the time I didn't know anybody was coming outside to check the house because they couldn't. It was gated. There's no way they can get in.
Well, wait. I'm confused. Can we start from the very beginning? The phone call is made by the neighbor into the child protection system. I know you call it the Department of Children's Services, but for all practical purposes, so people don't get confused, I use the word CPS because that means all the acronyms out there, because people are going to use DCS and CPY and RARQ and MON. So I just say CPS. So they first came out. I'm sure. I take it back. They got a report. Now, this report, they're doing an investigation. Did they call you first?
No.
So
I never got anything.
How did they find you?
So my mom, I was living with my mom in the other house, and she was very sick. She was really dying, and so I had no idea this was going on because he was a neighbor and he was trying to help us and all this, and then he has mental health problems. So I guess he interpreted me asking him for help that I
Well,
needed.
which person are we talking about? You said 2 people reported you.
Right, 2 people.
Who was the first person?
So this was one neighbor in the other home. So he has mental health problems.
So you were at another home when he made the report in. Now, why did they come to your mother's home instead of your other home?
Because I didn't live in this one.
So you didn't live in the home you live in now?
I never lived in it, and I never really lived in it.
So why would the neighbor... Right, why would the neighbor...
Dad,
Right. Why would the neighbor with the mental health problem want to call in if you didn't live at that home?
I have no idea. He thought that they would give me like financial assistance.
Okay. So theirs was called in. And so how did they, if he reported you in the home you're not living in there, how did they find you at your mother's home? Was that the second person that called in?
No. What happened is they couldn't find me anyway in my mom's home because after she passed away, my brother wanted to fix the house. Okay, but I didn't want to go. So I ended up with the kids here and the pets here. And this is my grandparents' house. So it's very small. It's not even an acre. It's like less than an acre, right? It's
still a big house.
It's like this
Was it also
in village house? You know what I mean? It's like my kids, they were used to like actually opening a door, and there's like a driveway. It's the size of like, a real driveway. Like it's big. They could play with their little cars and sit in it and everything. They couldn't do that here.
Were they in West Hollywood? Were they in West Hollywood, both homes?
Yes, they were.
Okay. So there are 2 homes in West Hollywood.
My daddy's room is the size of the living room in this house.
Understand, I don't need to know the specifics. I'm just trying to analyze, because I'm trying to help me understand how it can be done differently, or how, it could have been this. So what you had, listen.
What happened is after my mom and dad passed away, they passed away within 9 months of each other. Okay? So my dad passed away first, and then my mom passed away 9 months later.
Okay, before they passed away, I have a question to ask you before they passed away. If there was a complaint already made by that guy with the mental problem at the house you didn't live in, what happened to that complaint after 24 hours?
I don't know.
Because you see, right. So I'm trying to tell people they have 24 hours to investigate a complaint. Okay. So it looks like to me they did. And so then you had another complaint. And again, when the other complaint was made, did they tell them the house you're living with your parents or not?
No. What happened was they came out here. The guy, he complained next door because my brother and I were mad because I didn't want to stay in this house, period. So he insisted I should stay here. Because I said, I think the guy next door is crazy. I have this letter. He sent the letter. So then, and then afterwards, my brother goes back to the other house to get our stuff, and the police, they show up within like 1 hour.
Hey, show up at which house?
In West Hollywood.
Well, you have 2 houses in West Hollywood.
No, I only have 1. I got a
Okay,
house over there
I'm
close to, like,
confused.
P. Diddy's
Okay,
house.
Natalie, you said you have your grandparents' house and the house you live in now, but you weren't living at the time the investigation was taking place.
Right.
So what I'm asking
So
about,
my house,
I'm
you know
asking
where
about,
Puppy's house is? It's
okay.
like the hill over.
Natalie, you're going to
Basically,
have to let me
right
finish
there.
my question, okay? It's a
Okay,
two-way
all right.
conversation here. I know you're very anxious and stuff, but I'm trying to make it so that I can understand it, because if I can understand it, the
Okay.
people that are listening will understand it, because we're trying to go back into time to see what mistakes and what was done wrong that maybe can help out other people who are just starting out. I'm
Okay.
trying to help out other people, and these other people are from around the world. They're not just for the USA. You have people from
No.
speak different languages. So we have the whole world listening to us tonight. Okay. Anybody that has
Okay.
internet capabilities that looks up Fight CPS, they'll find me, and then they'll come and listen. And I don't know how many people in the room. You see, I have an eyeball that tells me people from groups, but today I had someone talk to me this morning. It showed me 0 people, but there was other people in the room. So I can't see who's in the room. So anyway, at the home you're living with your parents, when the second allegation
Yes.
was coming in, that was a handwritten letter by your neighbor. Now, what was that neighbor?
Right. He wrote it by computer, typed it.
Right. It doesn't make difference whether it's by hand or by computer, whatever. He got
He sent it even in the mail to me.
Okay. Well, all right.
And then he did not write his name or anything, but it's obvious it's him, because the other, it's nobody else would know that I would have my brother living with me and my kids.
Natalie,
it's very close.
Natalie, can I finish?
Okay.
You keep interrupting me, and I'm still trying to analyze this. Okay, we have the second letter, the second complaint, and all of a sudden you said now police are coming. The social workers weren't coming, just the police?
Just the police.
Now, why were the police coming from that letter? What did the letter say?
Well, what happened is my brother and I was upset with him to close up the other house, because
were you guys doing domestic violence, fighting with each other?
No,
arguing?
no fighting, no physical fighting.
Well, you don't have to be. You could be arguing. You could be arguing right now among.
We argued a little. I told him to just go.
All right.
And get our stuff.
Let me tell you about arguing, okay? Arguing at various forms, no matter what level it is bad. And the police will come, and social workers will come, because arguing is also domestic violence. If you disagree with somebody and you can't talk to them sensibly and calmly, then what you need to do is do a timeout and go for a walk. But if a neighbor sees you arguing with your brother, and then maybe you think it's a simple, calm arguing, they're going to think it's bad, and they're going to call the police and make up stories like you're fighting your brother and you're arguing that. So that's why the police were coming. They thought they had domestic violence happening. So with domestic violence, they worry about people taking a knife out or a gun and shooting the person, or physically hitting them or hurting them. The police are supposed to protect you. Okay? They're supposed to protect you, because so many people are being killed in domestic violent cases. People get hot temper. They get upset with each other. I have a bad problem with that. So I know very well what domestic violence is, what arguing is, what yelling is, and screaming and talking too loud. It's a hard thing. And for all you listeners out there, it's very hard. I know it's hard. So I think I'm understanding now. It's you had something going on with your brother, and the police came out to investigate. Now, when they came out to investigate, why did they want to arrest you?
I have no idea. I didn't have any criminal charges, and I had a neighbor here visiting me with the kids. He was an elderly man, and I took a shower.
Well, where was your brother? Where was your brother?
My brother went to go into the other house to close it up.
So you were alone in your parents' house with your children when the police came?
Right.
All right.
No, When I was in my parents' house, there was no problem. Okay? But my brother showed up because he wanted me to come down here.
You just told me your brother wasn't there when the police came.
No. What happened is he brought us down here to my grandparents' house.
Well, weren't you living at your grandparents' house?
No, I was not.
Okay.
I was only there for 2 weeks, and I left after the threatening letter or 3 weeks after the threatening letter came, and I asked a friend to take us back to my parents' house.
Okay, let me try to understand. Okay, can we give names to these two houses so I know? Like House A is where you live in now, correct?
Yes.
House B is where your grandparents used to live.
No.
Okay.
House A is my parents' house.
Okay.
House B is where my grandparents. Yeah. B. I'm in B now. House A was parents. Yeah.
Okay. Wait a minute. Okay, you can change the letters around. It doesn't make any difference. What? Okay. What house you want to call A or B that your parents are living in?
A, because I always lived there was A.
Okay. Now, what was the purpose of the other house? Did your grandparents have two houses?
No, they only had one house.
So what is the purpose of the other house?
What?
What is the purpose of who owns the other house?
You mean the A?
No,
my mom.
no. You said A was owned by your parents.
Right.
How about house B? Who owns that house?
Right now, my mom owns this house.
Okay, but before your mom didn't.
Right. Because she had it only for when my daddy passed away. She got it right away because she was his heir.
Okay.
That's how it worked. Because they were married.
Well, I know that, but did they husband and wife own both houses?
No, my mom didn't. My mom owns the house A because, she does.
Then who owned house B?
At the point before my daddy did, and then
so your dad owned one house and your mom owned the other house?
Right.
Okay, so you were living.
Even though even though my daddy had paid for a lot of the house, and then my relatives,
it makes no difference
for the house.
Yeah, it makes no difference who pays for what or whatever it is. So your dad owned house B, your mom owned house A. You were at house A when the police came, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Now they were coming to house A because they had a complaint that you and your brother were arguing.
They came to house B because of the.
Well, I don't care about house B. I'm talking about house A.
Nobody came to house A.
Okay.
Okay. In the reports, they lied. They said that they were watching us.
Well, I wanted to name the house A, the first house you're living at, so it can make some sense. So what house is that? What houses the police came to? I want to label that as house A.
The grandparents, number B.
Oh, I'm confused. Stop trying this. Okay. Your dad owned one house.
They came to the house here in West Hollywood. Okay, they took my.
Well,
kids,
you have two houses. You have two houses in West Hollywood, and
no, I have one. Because my house, the A, is close to UCLA. Just know that.
I asked you if both these homes are in West Hollywood, and you said yes.
No, they're not.
Okay.
No.
So can we call the house in West Hollywood A and the house at UCLA B?
Okay, fine. That's fine.
Because UCLA is not in West Hollywood.
Right.
Okay. So in the West Hollywood house, you weren't living at the time, you're living at the UCLA house.
Right.
Okay. So when you were living at the UCLA house, that's where the police came.
No.
Oh, okay. The police came to the house in West Hollywood, but you weren't living there.
Right. I wasn't living there. It wasn't
so
officially
how did the police arrest you if you're not there?
My brother dropped me off here. So I opened the door to the police.
Okay.
They kept banging and banging.
When you say here,
door.
I don't know what you mean by here. Is here at UCLA
He dropped
or
me
here
off at the house in West Hollywood.
Okay.
And somebody called the sheriff.
Okay, you're adding more stuff that I've been trying to get out of you. Okay.
Okay.
Why are you being dropped off at West Hollywood? What's wrong with being at your UCLA house?
I don't know. He didn't understand.
Who's he?
My brother.
Okay. Use your brother
He was
as
upset about something. He thought that I don't know, somebody told him something. So I don't know. He's a little handicapped or something. So he got upset because he thought that I have no idea, because whatever the attorney had told him, that we have to move out right away so they can remodel the house.
Okay. You're adding all these little blurbs or remodeling, attorney,
But it's true.
and stuff. I'm not saying it's not true. It's just that it's like you're starting to build a bridge, but you're talking about the top of the bridge before we got the bottom of the bridge built.
I know, but I have to explain that that's what happened.
Well,
and
okay.
I was upset.
Can we?
Yeah,
I understand.
It's complicated.
Okay. Can we start at the very beginning? When your parents were alive.
Right.
Okay. When your parents were alive, you're living in UCLA.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. When my parents
sounds
were
good.
alive, I was always living there.
All right. Now,
Yes.
at the UCLA house, how many children did you have at that house?
I had 2 little girls.
So you didn't have the third child yet.
No.
So you had 2 girls at the UCLA house. Now, was
Yes.
CPS involved with you with your 2 little girls first, or did they wait till you had your third child?
No. What happened was, when I had the girls were already in the system when I had my son. Yes.
Okay. Now it's making sense. Now, back at the UCLA house, your dad is getting quite ill.
Yeah. My mom was really sick too. So she
Well,
had
right.
lung
She was
cancer,
sick
not
too.
smoker.
So your
My
parents
dad
are.
was diabetic.
So your parents
Yeah.
are not doing well at the UCLA house. So no one was living at the house in West Hollywood back then when you were living at your parents' house at UCLA, right?
What do you mean? My mom and I and the girls were living in the house at UCLA. Yes.
With your dad when your dad was still alive.
Right.
And I said no one was living at the West Hollywood house.
No, my brother was living there.
Oh, now that makes it easier. I could call it your brother's place and your parents' place.
Yeah.
That can make it a little bit simpler. Okay, so
Yeah.
your brother
He
is
had been living there for a
Right.
long time, and he liked
Right.
it. So
okay. Your brother's living at the West Hollywood house, and you're living at your parents' house in UCLA.
Yeah.
And you had 2 children. Where was the father of the 2 girls living?
He was living in Glendale.
So you guys are broken up? Were you separated or what?
He didn't want to do anything.
Who's they didn't want to do anything?
And he didn't want to help me.
I understand that, but if he's living in Glendale and you're living at UCLA, that means you're separated, right?
Right.
Were you divorced or you just separated?
We were separated. I didn't want to
Okay.
have anything to do with him.
And he
because
wanted nothing to
was
do with
acting
you.
weird.
So what was the divorce? Did you file for a divorce or did he
I
file
had
for
to file a divorce. He eventually passed away.
your husband?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
You've had a lot of
But
tragedies.
he didn't want to
there.
help us, so he had a different mentality.
I understood, but the CPS are going to want to talk to both parents. And if you're not legally
Right.
divorced, they're going to drag them into it. They're going to drag them into
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm starting to understand this picture a little bit better now. Okay, so
Sorry, I couldn't explain it properly.
well, no, your brother's at the house of West Hollywood. You're at the UCLA
Yeah.
house with your parents. Your dad is slowly dying. Your mom is dying, and your husband is separated, living up in Glendale, and he's dying, and he wants nothing to do with your 2
Right.
girls. Now, who's the father of your third child? Where is he?
He's over there next to my house at UCLA. He's a neighbor.
Oh, were you married to him, or was just a love child?
No, not married to him. We're just going out and then
I understand.
together for a while.
They are called a love child. You had a love child with him. Now, did he want anything to do with your case, support or anything?
No, but the judge knows him because he's an attorney.
Oh, well, that is screwy, because all fathers out there should help out their spouses. If you have a child, it's the responsibility of the mother and the father to raise that child till they're 18. I don't care what planet you're on, but you need to help out. All right? Now, if you want to
I know they do, but men these days, no matter how young or old, a lot of them, they just trip out.
Yes, I agree. So the police get a complaint at your UCLA house and come to investigate you, right?
They get a complaint at West Hollywood.
Oh, so there's never any complaint. There's never any complaint at the UCLA house.
There only was, from what I saw when I got to the court, there was, but I had no idea. I never got notice.
What porch are you talking about?
The children's court.
What about the children? What has that got to do with the police coming out?
When you see the report.
Okay, before the report, okay. Can we stop hopping around? Can we start at the beginning?
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Now, the police are going to come out because of a complaint. Now, you had a handwritten complaint at the UCLA house, right?
No, at the West Hollywood house.
Okay. So you had no complaints at the UCLA house?
No.
So the UCLA house, you're living there with your two daughters. Your husband was living up in Glendale. You guys were separated. And then you met a neighbor next door who was an attorney that had a love child with you. I guess you're pregnant at the time.
No, I got pregnant like when the girls were like 6 years old, 7 years old.
Oh, so how did you, if you moved to the West Hollywood house, how did you get pregnant by the guy who lived in UCLA?
We came over to visit. We came
over.
Oh,
okay.
Then,
so you had a relationship going.
He missed me and everything. So that.
All right. All right. That's fine. And it's so beautiful. You're a beautiful person. And I'm sorry if I'm not explaining myself very well here.
No, it's fine. This is a horrible story.
Well, it is. But I'm also trying to understand the mistakes that were made. So you had no complaints at the UCLA house. Your dad died.
No.
Your mom was dying. And your brother lived at the West Hollywood house. So you moved in with your brother.
Right. So he wanted me to come down here.
Right. And so then you had your two girls with your, and you were living with your brother, and you still had a relationship with the guy next door at UCLA. All right. Now you're at West Hollywood.
Right.
That's where the police come, right?
Right.
So was it a complaint that a neighbor made in writing, or was it a complaint on the
It's a complaint they called in. So
okay.
When the police came, I had the
and
one of my neighbors here.
Do you have any idea what the complaint was?
I have no idea what the complaint. The police never told me anything. They said
so the police show up. If the police, you're talking about the LAPD, right?
The sheriff.
Okay, the sheriff. Now the LAPD. Okay, I guess West Hollywood is the LA County sheriffs run the West Hollywood police. Okay.
Yes.
All right, so the sheriff comes because they got a complaint. Now, did they just show up and say, put your hands out front, I'm going to handcuff you? Or did they ask you any questions?
No, I had my neighbor here. And I was taking a shower, and the girls were fine and everything, and the pets, and I was just waiting for my brother to return to bring our belongings.
All right.
And stuff, but I I had some belongings with me here and everything, and then after that, it was really weird. I showed the letter that I got in the mail from the neighbor that was threatening, and she thought I was mentally unfit, but she was Asian, some kind of like
wait. Let's not try to bring race, whether they're Asians,
No,
whether
I
they're
just try to
male or
remember
female.
the situation.
Who are these
not
people?
race, okay.
Who are the
I mean, you had to
Asians? Who are
describe.
the
And
females?
then the other
Who are the
police were
Asians?
like, I
Who
don't
are the
know,
females?
whatever, American
Okay.
and
Yeah.
non-American.
I know, but
Anyway, so
can we start back when they first come? Now, was this a female sheriff that was an Asian that came?
right, she was a
Okay.
female Asian sheriff. We
All
had
right.
to,
Thank you very
yes.
much. Now, we don't need to know whether she's Asian or female or male. All I know
Right.
is that in
All
LA
I need
County,
to remember that.
LA County Sheriff came. Now, did the LA
Right.
Sheriff come, just put you in handcuffs without asking you you're under arrest?
That's what they did. They said, you're going to the hospital. And then she was typing that I couldn't take care of my kids.
Well, wait a minute. Before you type, okay, they knock on the door, right?
Right.
Who answered the door?
I did, because they kept banging on the door.
Okay. And when you answered the door, were you dressed?
Yes, I had my bathrobe on.
Okay. And what did they ask right away when you opened the door?
They said, we're here to check everything. I said, oh, okay.
Check? What do you mean check everything? What do you mean? Are they doing
Your house. I said,
a
oh,
welfare
you want to check
check?
my house? I said,
Yeah.
why?
And you did not
And
know
they're like,
the
oh, we
law.
have to come check your house.
You did not know the law that says you don't have to open the door and you don't have to let people in.
Right.
All right. So they come in. Now, was the house disarray?
No.
Okay. So what were you talking to them weird or something? I mean, how they?
No.
Okay.
No, all I asked them was not to leave the door open.
Okay.
The kids were running out and the pets were running out.
Okay.
And then I showed them the letter and I said, well, could you help me?
Okay. Why are you
understand
showing them the letter? What was the purpose of the letter?
If I said I'm scared, I don't know who's sending me these kind of letters.
But wasn't the police coming out to investigate a complaint about something?
Yes, but she took it the wrong way. She thought I wrote the letter.
Oh, boy. Well, if you knew at the time, for all the people listening, if that's your situation, first of all, don't open the door. Second of all, if you do open the door, you could tell them, I need my attorney present. Can we schedule another time for this? You say very nicely and very comfortable about it. Also, if she wants to arrest you, you need to ask the officer, Sheriff, what crime am I committing? You see, what they did is just like you and I trying to talk for 45 minutes to understand about your case. It was very confusing. And now I understand it. It took me a long time because I thought it was double complaints, 2 different places or whatever it is. So the police that night arrested you and took you down.
Yeah, and to the hospital, county.
Why did they take you to the hospital? What were you exhibiting that was so bad?
There was nothing. I was just scared. I don't know what's going on.
Okay. What we're going to do, Natalie, is I want to continue this tomorrow at 10 o'clock.
Okay.
If you can call in. If not, tomorrow night at 7 o'clock will be fine. Because I want to help you, Natalie, understand so the same mistakes are made so other people cannot make the same mistakes. To all my listeners, my show time is almost up. I really don't want to go, but I'm required to be only on for an hour. And so I have an ad that I need to run that's with my show time. And so I want to thank you, Natalie. Please don't take me wrong.
Thank you.
If I wanted,
No, I'm trying to help understand too.
Yeah. And
I live with it every
today
day.
is the first day I knew you had three children. I did not know that. I did not.
I told you last time.
Well,
maybe you
somehow
were.
I didn't listen. Okay. And I did not know that you had a husband and you're living separately. I didn't know that that you had a friend that lived in the neighborhood that gave you your third child, your love child. And so now I'm understanding it. So we're going to take it from the time they wanted to take it down. And that to me is weird because how can they send you to a mental hospital? Because sheriffs are not clinical psychiatrists.
But they can arrest you to mental observation.
I'm going to look at that
Because
up.
they just
I'm going to look that up on the
to-
internet.
To traffic
Yeah.
the kids.
I'm going to
That's
look
their
that
job.
up on the internet. But thank you so much,
Yes.
Natalie. I do have to go.
God bless.
And God
Great.
bless you all. I'll see you all tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock Pacific time. Keep fighting your case.
Hi, I'm attorney Vincent Davis, and I've been fighting CPS for over 35 years. Through my years of experience, I've gained invaluable insights that I'm ready to share with you. If you're a parent or a caregiver or a relative, we need to talk. I'm offering a new opportunity for you to speak with me on a one-on-one basis. Ask me any questions, and I'll provide you with the insight you need to take steps in your CPS case. Members get everything they need to gain confidence and the knowledge that they need to support necessary to truly fight back. And as a special thank you for attending, I have a special offer just for you. Don't miss out. Join us, and let's take that next step together. I'll see you at the question and answer event.